And a few things first on the agenda before we get to hearing from our Metro departments. And we might reverse a few things. We did want to talk a little bit. We had some questions and we emailed them to you that have been follow-up. We've been working on getting all of our small business organizations under contract. And as Pathway has been working on the application, they had some questions that required a little bit of follow-up. And let's see, I'll bring those up in front of me. But you got them? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ashley. So for the committee, we just wanted to make sure that we addressed the questions to your desire. The first one was on nonprofits. And so from a small business perspective, were nonprofit organizations eligible to apply to that small business fund, or was that just for for-profits?
I originally did not think that it was open for nonprofits because I felt like the state was going to be handling that in a more robust way than we were able to. And because of our limited funds, we wanted to direct that support to specifically small and micro businesses. That was my understanding. If it's the will of the committee, I would like to stay with that because I think that the nonprofits can be handled, again, more robustly from the state. They already had an allocation. They have another allocation coming out on October 1st, I believe. Ashley can...
Small business does.
Small business. Oh, small business, not nonprofits.
Correct.
Okay. So, I guess we could just open it up for discussion and see kind of where everyone lands on that.
Sounds good. Councilmember Gamble?
I'm looking for the list that you all provided to us of the allocations for nonprofit. I guess that went through the first round through United Way, if I'm not mistaken. But my initial thought was that nonprofits would not be excluded from the small business allocation as long as they fell within those guidelines that we outlined, the 1 million or less asset and the 250 or less for the micro businesses. So I didn't remember that we were excluding. I don't think we talked specifically about including them, but I don't recall them being excluded either.
I'm with Councilwoman Gamble. I have no problem with nonprofits being included as well. I think it would address the fact that nonprofits weren't addressed by the state early on. So if it is the will of the body, I have no...
Nonprofits were addressed by the state. So they got $150 million that they could apply for through United Way, and Second Harvest were what Middle Tennessee was eligible for. So that's the list that we sent out that had the 2 pages of those. We don't have the exact amount that they received. They've not shared that yet. But it was... Mary Jo, do you know the amount that United Way had?
I think roughly 40 million from the state. That might not be exactly right.
And that would just be from Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
40 million for Middle Tennessee. And then unrelated to CARES Act, but through private and corporate contributions, nonprofits were able to apply for some of their operating expenses through United Way's last round of funding of their $5 million.
Okay. Well, I still don't see an issue with it unless the body feels otherwise.
Sarah?
I think that when we talked about it, we were talking about it just in the context of small businesses. And I think that the amount that we were able to allocate, we appreciated was relatively modest. I do think it's really important for us to support nonprofits. I was under the assumption we were going to wait to see how that allocation affected the Middle Tennessee, the Davidson County nonprofits, and I think we've seen the list. We haven't seen the amounts, and we might come back and revisit it. I certainly don't have a problem with, opening it up to the same criteria. I just think it does reduce what we are supporting, providing for support for small businesses, and we may need to revisit that because it's not going to go very far if you add both of those sectors going for a very small amount of money.
Okay, so do we want to then handle this in phases and say this first phase was intended for small business?
Yes, that would be my suggestion. That would be my suggestion, is to say, let's see how this is being dispersed, how quickly that $2 million is going away first, because I do want to support as much as we can our small and micro businesses. And if it's not being allocated as quickly as we thought, it's okay, let's open it up, or, I think let's just take some time, because I know that they have received support elsewhere. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I support that position as well. Initially, I thought it was only for small business, not that I'm ruling out nonprofits, but I think possibly you take that on in the future.
Our intention. Alex, do we need any vote, or I feel like there's a consensus of the committee? Are we fine? It doesn't alter the resolution. Okay. I think actually Clint is on the phone. Should we check in? Clint, are you on the phone?
I am here.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
We need just a little more volume on Clint. So I think that helps clarify that the eligibility is for for-profit small businesses as otherwise defined.
That is correct. Thank you.
Councilmember Gamble?
Just so that we are clear, because this issue came up during the council meeting, I believe it was Councilwoman Hurt who asked about music festivals and nonprofit organizations that have events towards music not being included in that. And so now we're saying they're not included in the music venues and they're not included in the small business. So are we saying that we're going to take a separate action to address the needs there, or we're just not going to?
For nonprofits?
Yes.
I think it's more that my focus is the small business and the micro businesses for right now, and that in the future, in a couple of weeks, when we start to see how that money is, or how quickly that money is being allocated, if there's room for that, just because we have such limited funds, that we could then open it up. I think just putting a pause on opening that up right now.
So what if there's not enough funds, then they're just left out? I mean, I think since we took the action to do a separate resolution for music venues, then we should consider, if we're not going to include nonprofits in this small business, then we need to do separate for them as well, because we don't know. I mean, it was the same circumstance where the state had money coming down for music venues, but we didn't want them to have to wait on that. I think we should take that same consideration for nonprofits.
And I would agree with that. If we want to do a separate resolution to allocate more money specifically for nonprofits like that, that's fine. I wouldn't muddy the water with this particular one to leave it specifically with the small business and the micro businesses as we have it. Would that be fair?
That would be fair. I just don't want to say, well, we'll just wait and see, and then they get left out. So if we're not going to include them, then we need to consider a separate action.
Okay. The other question that came up is the definition of Nashville-owned or Nashville-based. So we had said we wanted this for our local Davidson County venues. It's possible we have owners that aren't living in Davidson County, or that there are multiple locations out, that one would be in Davidson County, one might be out of state or out of county.
My original definition on that was to limit it to Nashville-based, so that not a corporation-owned company, and just those smaller. So we could revise it to say the entity must be based in Tennessee and cannot be subsidiary of or legally bound to any out-of-state corporation. Would that be? I mean, I think we all know what we're trying to get to. It's just how do we define that clearly? So for example, like the Wild Horse. The Wild Horse is owned by Gaylord, which is huge. That's somebody that I'm not as interested in per se, and I hate to single out, but it just is a good example, versus Exit Inn or, Rudy's Jazz and Nightclub, because that is smaller and independently owned, not of a bigger corporation. That was my intent anyway.
Fine question. Is question number 2, we've talked about it in the context of music venues, but is that for small businesses overall or just for the music venue allocation?
That was related to the music venue question.
Okay, so number 2 is strictly for music venues.
Hey, Mary Jo, this is Clint Gwynn, if I may, members of the committee.
Yes, go ahead.
The question about Nashville-based businesses was for both of the two grants, one for small business and one for the music venues, with regard to, is it the location of the business or where the owners of the business reside? And so we do need some clarification on that. And to the point that was made moments ago about a Tennessee-based corporation, it is not uncommon for a lot of companies that operate in Tennessee to be Delaware-based corporations. There's just a lot more corporate law that's been proven in Delaware. So a lot of companies have Delaware corporations with ability to operate in Tennessee, and they may fully be owned and fully operate in Tennessee. So I want us to be careful when we start talking about it has to be a Tennessee corporation or those types of things. I think on the music venues, with the $5 million revenue cap, I think you're going to eliminate all of those that are multi-jurisdiction or owned by larger corporations, because we'll look to the corporation that owns the venue with regard to that $5 million revenue cap that's in the resolution to, I think, get to the intent of what you all were trying to do, which was to keep it to the smaller venues.
I think, as far as I go, my specific intent was the physical location of that business. If it is within Davidson County, then I think that it should be available for them.
The general consensus of the,
But not part of a subsidiary of a larger corporation, correct?
So Wild Horse Saloon, take that for example, right? It is located in Davidson County.
Right, but it's,
If they meet the rest of the criteria, I think it should be open to them. We are talking about businesses specifically in Davidson County.
that was not my intent. If they were part of a larger corporation like Gaylord, for example, that has businesses all over, that's not, I was more trying to focus on people that did not have that corporate support. So.
Edward?
Yeah, I'm more inclined to agree with Councilwoman Sepulveda. I feel like when I think about the music venues, I believe that my reasoning, speaking independently behind it, is we're addressing venues that have been impacted by our phasing plan, and we've not allowed them to operate in a certain way. And so this is to supplement them as a result of that. And I feel like those corporations, even if they are outside, they're still suffering from the same impacts. And so that was my intention and my understanding of the reasoning behind it all.
I think having the cap of the $5 million probably levels many of those out already. And again, the same thing, if it's based here or physically is located in Davidson County, the negative impact that it's shutting down, not by their own hand, as in all their employees, is what we want to try to help correct. But again, that $5 million cap probably rules out the ones we're collectively concerned about.
Okay, so we want to make sure that it's Nashville-based, not necessarily Nashville-owned. You could have somebody in Wilson County or Williamson County that owns a venue in Davidson County, and that the rest of the criteria that we put with the cap addresses some of the larger corporate issue. Okay. Clint, does that give you what you need?
Yes, ma'am, that gives me what I need. If I may, there's one other item that was in both pieces of resolutions. It said that verification of income would be done with state tax returns. And I do think we would request some leeway to use federal tax returns there as well, specifically for sole proprietorships, if you will, that don't file a state income tax return. They're going to just file a federal. So if you all would, I don't know what your process would be, give us some leeway to use any federal or state filings to prove up the revenues and those items, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, so
I can draft that up. We should probably just incorporate all these into amendments. The problem is, by including them in the The problem is by including them in the resolution, that's what this committee is bound to. So we may have to just go ahead and amend the resolution and take care of all these housekeeping matters, which we can do. We're ahead of time on that.
Okay. So do we need a discussion? Clint, you were talking about the revenues being based on state tax returns. Was there a change you were suggesting?
I mean, we can work with that, but for some of the smaller businesses, they're not going to be filing the state tax returns depending on their ownership structure.
We need more volume on Clint. I couldn't hear the rest of that.
Sorry, because some of the smaller businesses may not file state tax returns, they may operate as a sole proprietorship. They're only going to file a federal. We didn't want to leave them out, and I don't think it was the intent of this group to leave them out. So we were just looking for some ability to use an alternative verification methodology using federal tax returns.
I don't necessarily have any problem with that. So I didn't realize that the verbiage was specifically state tax returns. So I would just say any tax return to verify income revenue would be a good housekeeping cleanup.
We have at least one other resolution that'll be coming for the 32.1. So I'll just draft some language and you all can approve it at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, so we'll have revenue verification via tax forms. Okay. Clint, I think there was one other, well, two others. On the venues with multiple locations, I think you also wanted some clarification on what documentation. We certainly, I think, were clear in the intention that multiple locations under single ownership were all still individually eligible.
Right, it was to be determined by the individual leases, so for the individual locations. But I also don't, I mean, what I'm hearing is that the only one that I knew of that has multiple locations is Cannery with the 3 of them, but they've only made one request through Pathway. So I don't even know that that's applicable, so.
Clint,
but the intent was definitely just each
Clint, what
lease.
do you need for clarification that the intention is individual locations are eligible even if they are under one ownership?
Okay, if that's, we're good with that definition. We can easily work with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any change. I think that was just a question. Edward, did you have something else?
No, I was just thinking, I thought we made it clear that it was tied to addresses. So lease address, utility address. So I thought address was the determining factor, with all the other constraints we had, but it was address based.
And then the last item is an administration fee. So that was actually left out of the resolution, so it's silent. And Clint had asked me, I did not want to make that decision for the committee, about the administration on the 2 grant funds. So there's $2 million for the music venues and $2 million for the small business. And it was silent to an administrative fee.
I think there was some confusion because of the $200,000 that Pathway got for technical assistance. I think there was some confusion that was an administrative fee when it actually wasn't. So out of that $200,000 for technical assistance that Pathway is, I would like to hear from Clint what he thinks, how that will be as useful as any additional administrative fee on administering the grant funds. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, I know that we designated that for technical assistance. We have several organizations providing technical assistance. So does he think that that's something that is crucial for him to provide in addition to the grant administration, or should we focus mainly on the administrative fee for the grant administration?
I'm going to let Clint reply specifically, but they are two different bodies of work. Just like we have the other organizations doing technical support, that is for that support. It was not intended to be the administrative fee. Clint, I think you had talked to us about a 5% fee on the funds. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. That was the amount that we had discussed. And to the councilwoman's question, that $200,000 that was in there was for us to provide our resiliency and capital readiness training for businesses to be able to pivot and then figure out what they needed to do to access capital to be able to reinvent their businesses, if you will. And so with regard to the fee for managing, taking all the applications, basically underwriting the applications, distributing the funds, and then collecting the verifications, that was the fee that we had done. We built that fee based on the amount of time our staff was going to have to spend. I think we estimated on the music venues, it was somewhere between 6 to 8 hours to vet all the financials and get the transaction completed per transaction. And then on the small business ones, it was going to be much quicker because there was a lot less verification that you all had put in that resolution. So we could do more transactions with the same amount of fee.
So that would be one of the things we would add to the resolution then, is if we make amendments for the 5% fee. Is there?
I think that's probably an appropriate time. I think as of recently, in the last couple of days, my firm is representing pathways related to this, so I'll recuse from discussion and abstain on any votes. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion, comments, questions?
I did want to ask, in terms of the other agencies, the administrative fee for them, I believe, was %?
No, United Ways was 1.5%, but remember that the agencies that are distributing the funds will have additional on top of that. So it's not just 1.5. That was just United Way's piece because they are distributing the funds to other organizations. Those organizations will incur some administrative fee.
And so what is it exactly that Pathway is asking for specifically the administration fee? Is it a percentage? Is it a flat fee? Did I miss that?
The 5%. So 5% on each fund.
Of the $4 million?
Of the $4 million, it would be $200,000.
Right. Yeah, I honestly was under the impression that the original $200,000 was for their fee. So I don't know how I missed that, but I mean, obviously, an administration fee is necessary. They can't do this work for free. I would like to see. I mean, 5% sounds high in comparison to the other administration fees that we've done, but I know that the state has. I think that's what they pay. Is that correct, Ashley? On administration for any sort of allocations?
I think there's one they do, and I'm not entirely sure of which one it is, but yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. So a follow-up question would be, if we are going to agree to the $200,000 for the 5% for the $4 million, do we need to add more money to that? Because all that's going to do is take away from the money that actually gets to businesses. And so I don't,
So an alternative, and Clint, you can step in. If we don't want to, we just have to change the resolution that the $200,000 that they were allocated would be for administration of the grant funds and not for technical assistance. It would be technical assistance that wouldn't be provided to the organizations. Clint, I don't know if that is a compromise that you're interested in, but it would be not providing any of the technical support, the resiliency program, but rather using those funds for the administration of the grant funds. So that would have to be an agreement of the committee and.
Well, that's why I asked the question initially as to the importance of the technical assistance that he's providing, that Pathway would be providing in addition to the other organizations that are providing technical assistance, because it would be logical, in my opinion, if that technical assistant wasn't as crucial that we reallocate that to the administrative fee so that we could keep the $4 million going to the grants.
Right.
Right.
Did you have any concerns with that, or is that something this committee can?
Can I ask, for the 5%, is there like shifting of staff? Is it, so they're not losing money? If they could elaborate just a little bit, that would be helpful.
Yes, ma'am. Happy to elaborate on that. It is a shifting of a significant amount of our staff. All of our credit team and most of our accounting and lending teams will shift to do this work. We're trying to do all of this, get all this money moved to the companies and the venues in about a 3-week time period, which means we're basically shutting down all of our other operations to be able to fund somewhere between 450 and 600 businesses with the grant funds that you all have allocated to us.
And Clint, I had asked the same question. Is that just a shift in cost, or is it really incremental? You might want to explain that it creates an out-of-pocket because of what they would be doing in those other 3 weeks.
Right. We're basically stopping all of our lending, all of our educational programming to some degree to be able to handle the volume of these requests that'll come in, the paperwork that's required behind them. So we're stopping all of our normal revenue-generating business to be able to do this. And so that was the reason for the fee. We don't have time to outsource this. We've got the people on staff who can handle it and do it quickly. But we're basically shutting down the other parts of our business to be able to distribute these funds in this very rapid time frame, because we're strong believers and this money needs to go now. It doesn't need to be delayed anymore. And unless I shift basically my whole staff to work on this, we're not going to be able to do it in that timely a fashion.
I have a question for Clint. You were obviously here the day we heard from a number of organizations that we ultimately allocated money to provide technical support. And a lot of that support was similar. In some cases, organizations provided similar services, but maybe to different groups or focused on different areas. In terms of what we would not be providing from Pathway Lending that maybe others do not provide, could you just kind of explain that so that if we do decide not to pursue the $200,000 in technical support, we know exactly what is not going to be offered that otherwise we thought we would be getting?
Right. Okay. So in our original proposal, we were proposing to do our resiliency training on a weekly basis, which is about a 6 to 8 hour program for each entrepreneur to be able to look at their business now and then build a new business plan, if you will, for how they were going to operate their business going forward. That was then going to be followed by a capital preparedness program where they would put together their cash flow and their budget to be able to go access capital from traditional sources or organizations like Pathway Lending to be able to execute on their pivot, if you will. And so we had, for us, we run a women's business center and we run a veterans business center. And so we've got deep relationships into large numbers of women-owned businesses and large numbers of veteran-owned businesses. If you look at our women's business center, about 65% of the clients that go through that in any given year, which is about 1,100 people, are minority women. And so we have a very large group of minority-owned, female-owned women businesses that we support. And that was really the biggest target group, if you will, that we were going to try to support with the grant funds for the technical assistance.
Demand that you've received since we announced this and the resolution passed. I guess we're trying to figure out, if there are a lot of folks that really want this support and they're now going to be told they're not going to get it, or is it something that really hasn't been advertised yet as available?
We have not advertised that portion of the resolution yet. We've got a pretty robust social media campaign prepared for it, as well as our online presence. I will tell this group that we did put up on our website when this all happened 2 weeks or a week ago a landing page for people coming to our website if they were interested in the capital programs and the grants. We've had about 190 folks fill out all their information to get the information when we finalize everything. So we're seeing about 30 to 40 people come to our website every day looking for the grants. And I truly believe we're gonna go through the $2 million for small business very, very rapidly. The music venue piece, we're still trying to get our hands around the size of those. I know it's up to $100,000, but depending on the size of the venue, 2 months, there may be some venues there that don't have enough expenses to take down the full 100. But without question, on the small business side, the demand is clearly there. We're getting contact daily on that.
You know, based on that, I certainly would support the reallocation of the $200,000, and then we can divert the other folks to our other partners for purposes of technical support.
Okay. Is anybody, I see some head nodding. Sean, did you have something?
Just one question for Clint. Of that $200,000 allocation, I know you haven't started the programs yet, but have you spent any money to develop those programs out of that $200,000?
We were in the process of developing them. We've spent some of it, but not nearly as much as I've spent on the business grant side. We're spending a lot more money over there because we're having to implement some additional processes.
Now, I was under the impression when you all presented your proposal that these programs were already operating and already in existence. That was something that was important when we were discussing this, that we didn't want to use dollars to implement new programs. This was supposed to shore up programs that were already existing, and then that way you all would be able to just quickly bring in the new people into them. And so I want to clarify on that. And then my second question is, I know that you all do partner with the Entrepreneur Center and Nashville Business Incubation Center. Nashville Business Incubation Center, one of their technical services is financial services. Wondering if there's still the opportunity for partnership with Pathway and those other organizations to help provide those services.
Most definitely. With regard to all of the training programs that we were going to offer, those were already in place and up and operating. With regard to providing grants to entrepreneurs and business owners, which we have done in the past, we are, because of what was in the resolution with regard to going to tax documents and some of those things, we're having to tweak some of our existing processes because we had a lot more self-certification for the folks that we were giving grants to, as opposed to going back to formal tax documents to review and validate the information. So we're having to add some ways for people to upload some additional information to our website. So that's really the only tweak or change, if you will, with regard to it not already being in place.
Clint, I know you sent over a couple of other questions this morning. Did we get all those? It looked like a lot of repeats, but I just want to make sure you got everything you needed.
I think that we've gotten all the big ones. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I saw a lot of head nodding. I just want to make sure that we are going to adjust the resolution to reclassify the 200 from technical assistance to administration and leave 4 million. Is that good? Okay, all right. Clint, thank you so much for joining us again today to get that clarification. We look forward to finishing the contract and getting the funds to you.
You bet. Thank you all very much. And as I spoke about, we will get these funds moving very, very rapidly so that it gets in the hands of the folks that really need it.
Thank you so much. Ashley, do you want to give us an update real quick, and that way we can just leave the rest of the time for the departments?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. On Tuesday, Mayor Cooper participated in Senator Blackbird's 95 county virtual tour she's doing with each county. She's meeting with the mayors and inviting the state delegations and the council members to participate. The questions that Mayor Cooper asked were all about CARES money and what was coming best to get it from your federal representative. Two key things that she said that you all need to be aware of. One is she said she did expect the deadline to be extended, most likely to the end of 2021, meaning that these funds have to last till the end of 2021. The other thing she said was she did not sound favorable about cities and counties getting additional funds if there was another relief package, that at the most they might move funding that had been allocated to, like, this is just an example of federal highway that hadn't been pulled down, that could be reallocated to something else, but she did not indicate that it would get reallocated to cities and counties. It was pretty grim, and I think that's something you guys need to take into consideration as you're looking at spending and going forward of making spending allocations.
Okay. Not what we wanted to hear. But thank you.
Ashley, also, it came out that the mayor had requested from Governor Lee 86 million, I think, for small business, that type of thing. And so you've already told me, but I wanted you to tell the committee sort of what you felt like was going to happen with that money, and how it probably is not going to come to Metro.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. I am not going to speak for the state of what they're going to do or not do just because I'm not in there. If I was making it assumptions, I would expect it to go directly to small business, that they would look at additional funding for them or additional funding for services, but not a direct allocation to the city.
All right. With that, we are pleased to have our guests from our departments, and I think Ashley's got us in order, so we'll just go in that order. You've got the updated framework. I did adjust from the departments that I have heard of. There's some that are coming next week, so I haven't heard from everyone yet, but there are some adjustments on the requests, as we did ask for the departments to make priorities, to pare down, kind of really look at the request in the context of what we have left. And so I want to thank them. Our departments have a whole lot on their plate, and that's really an understatement between 3 federal disasters, budget concerns, and just the environment we're working in. So to have looked back at the requests and really had to, in really short notice, make some quick thoughts and judgments and priorities. So again, thank you for doing that. And we do have Caroline Vincent here from the Arts Commission, and you all have an updated proposal in front of you, and I just wanted to open the floor to Caroline.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I know you have a really hard job, and I appreciate you hearing these requests from departments. So I did update the memo that I think you have in front of you, and I'll just hit some highlights, and I'm available for questions. I think as it relates to the conversation you just had, the nonprofit sector has been hit really hard, the arts especially, just because they are unable to open, like many of our performing spaces in the city. So that's just been really tough for them. We've already had a lot of job losses, and revenue losses are just really quite staggering. So I think all the numbers are there. I'll just point out, some places are starting to reopen, like the First Art Museum, but their visitorship is down to like 10 to 20%. So even as they are open and, sort of continuing to have overhead, a lot of fixed costs are remaining the same, whether they're open or not. We did a recent survey to sort of update, because Metro Arts funds nonprofits each year around 50, or a little over this year, actually. So we're very close with these organizations, and we did a recent survey, and just cash on hand is, of course, still an issue. Some report less than a month to less than 12 months of reserves on hand. Fundraising, they anticipate to be very difficult in the coming months. Of course, events are canceled with the economic situation. Many donors are not, giving money, or they're giving money to social services, which is obviously a priority, but that, really impacts our arts organizations. The duration, so just not knowing, like everyone, not knowing when is this going to end, when will they be able to bring people back in, onto stages and play instruments and things like that. And many are, providing cultural programming still, like, the Bell Court's doing a drive-in program, and lots of people are doing virtual things, but most of those are not, monetized in a sense that would be very helpful at all. And again, some more, stats around just, we have seen some research in the field that the arts will be, one of the last things that people are comfortable, going into a theater to sit next to other people and that kind of thing. So, and another piece of this is we're kind of hanging on to some, employees, but, we're getting to that point where we're going to start to have to see more layoffs, and they're very concerned about, highly educated people who are in these positions. Just sort of that rebuilding process will be very tough. So I think those are the highlights. 100% of those identified said, operating expenses is their most pressing need, and I think we're hopeful there can be some allocation to help them retain, the people that work for them, keep their doors open, stay afloat until we can get through this crisis. So that I will stop there and see if you have questions.
If we were to allocate the requested 1 million to Metro Arts, how far would that take you? What I'm concerned about is that it would be just a drop in the bucket and therefore possibly a waste, in that it wouldn't do enough. And not that I'm saying we have more to allocate, obviously we're stretched pretty thin, but could you articulate where that $1 million would go and what that impact would look like?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, we have really large organizations that are, operating at millions of dollars a year. But I think even those I have spoken to said, any amount is going to help them. We would look at it from sort of a prioritize, by budget size. So we fund the organizations. I mean, some of our operating support grants each year, like in the $10,000 range, because we're talking about very small budget amounts. So I think we would want to, sort of break the money out into small, mid, and large size organizations. And then I know some cities like San Antonio have done an additional percentage for those that are serving, culturally specific organizations, or those, that are primarily serving underserved communities. So I think, while 1 million is not, I mean, it'd be great if we had 10 or more. We understand that's just not possible right now. So I think any amount will help, and we will prioritize those smaller organizations. And I think, those theaters and performing arts who just really can't operate right now. So I think that would be my take on that.
Sarah, did you? Oh, sorry.
Oh, was there
Would the funding be used primarily for rent and utilities management of the facility, or are you looking at payroll assistance as well?
Well, we're already set up to provide operating support, so we do, a grant program each year anyway. So we just sort of say operating support, and that means it can be, any of those categories that you just mentioned. Or, paying artists or, contracted personnel as well. But if this body wanted specific guidelines around that, we could certainly make those criteria. What's that?
Where's the most need?
I think the most need is their overhead, just if it's rent, mortgage, and payroll, I would say.
Earlier question, if you got the full $1 million, how many organizations do you think you can touch? Is it 100 at $10,000, or is it 200 at $5,000 on average?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what our goals are. If we want to spread it across, the 50 or so organizations that we're already funding, obviously be a small amount to everyone, or we could, create some criteria that sort of prioritizes smaller organizations. I mean, right now we're funding all of these organizations in the operational space. And I think, our largest grant's around 150,000 on down to, like I said, in the tens. So I think, that would be the will of this body to decide, how do we want to prioritize the funding? Certainly a little bit along for everyone, maybe won't make the biggest impact. But again, like I said, most organizations are saying any amount at this point would be useful.
As you're talking about payroll, one of the things with our live music venues, we specifically took out payroll. And that wasn't a huge hit to them because they had already laid off 90+%. And so those people were being taken care of through the state with unemployment benefits. What sort of cost-saving measures have you, like, who all is still on your payroll that, I mean, are we talking about essential employees? Are you still trying to support as many as you can outside of, the unemployment benefits, or?
Sure. I mean, and Metro Arts is, sort of the representative of these organizations, but I would say most of them have already laid off everyone they can lay off. At the Symphony, 130 people plus. I think everyone has kind of done the first cut, or even more than that, probably. I think we're talking about essential people to keep the buildings open, to do just basic maintenance, do basic security, those kinds of things is what I'm seeing is in smaller organizations that maybe had 4 employees in the spring now have 1. So I think we're kind of bare bones right now.
My question is, and I want to make sure I'm interpreting this correctly, you've mentioned roughly 50 organizations that are supported right now. If these funds are allocated, is it closed to just those groups that are already part of the pool that have been allocated on a yearly or annual or some type of basis? There's already an established relationship with Metro Arts Commission.
I would say that would be the most expeditious route, but we could certainly open it up. Our grant process in the spring is open, to any arts nonprofit is sort of what we're chartered to be able to give money out to. We also have a procurement authority where we fund artists directly, and we fund businesses or maybe organizations that are not incorporated as nonprofits. So I think we could go in a couple different directions there. But certainly I feel like our program already is pretty expansive, but, realizing there are barriers and there are organizations that are not 501c3s or, maybe doing cultural work but are not going to be eligible for a grant. So I think Metro Arts is authorized to do grants or procurement. So we would just have to figure out if the money flowed through us, which of those do we want to choose? Or mixture.
Yeah, I just, want to comment. At one time when we were talking about the music venue resolution, we talked about having it be a bit broader to include performing arts type organizations. And I think that we all really wanted to make sure money went to the music venues. We knew that it wasn't going to be enough to necessarily last a really long time for them. But we also knew that it would help them at least for another, 2-3 months, whatever it might be, in hopes that other relief might be available. And I just feel like, given the role of arts in this community, that it's important for us to consider, even though I do think there's some limits on what we can do from an impact standpoint. I think it's an important statement to try to support our arts community broadly.
One last question for me. How many of the 50-ish organizations have received state funds already? Do you know that?
I was just looking at that. The recent round of $150 million, only 5 organizations that I could see glancing through that were arts organizations. I think most of them didn't really qualify because they're not open, so they weren't having like the safety and PPE type needs, and it was geared more towards social services. So we're not really seeing that as a big impact in the arts community.
My assumption is that this $1 million or whatever allocation would go directly to Metro Arts. Do you have any sort of idea of what kind of administration fee that you guys would take in order to allocate and take application, all that stuff? So what of that $1 million would go to that?
100% of it. Our staff is paid by Metro, and we're already set up. We have grant staff and a process, so it'd really be just a determination of like, how do we want to create an application and get contracts out the door, which our staff is already doing. So I wouldn't see us really taking an administrative fee for this.
Are there any other questions? What we want to make sure we do today is just harvest all the information and get questions, since we'll really have 2 weeks of departments. But I want to make sure if there's any questions before we move on. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and we have Chris Gilder here, Captain Chris Gilder from the Police Department, and you all do have a memo that was sent in by MNPD. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for your time. We have two specific requests that we would like to see funded through this process. And the first one is an audiovisual system for our Metro Police Department Training Academy. So for those of you that don't know, our training academy was built in the 1970s. It has 3 main classrooms, one of which is dedicated primarily to NCIC training, so it has a lot of computer equipment. It can't really be moved around. The other 2 classrooms can house, during non-pandemic times, about 40 to 50 students. And typically, our training academy classes are much larger than that. The last group that graduated in August was about 67 officers. And when we started our current class that's there now, there were over 90 persons that showed up on day 1. So we have to make sure we're safely distancing these folks and providing a safe environment to continue operations, to continue learning, because there is a shortage. Any given day, we're about 120 officers short. So it's imperative that we're able to maintain continuity of operations there. Additionally, we also conduct in-service training at our police department training academy. And the state requires 40 hours of in-service training for each officer in order to maintain state certification. So we have to ensure that those can continue. Obviously, we have tried to do what we can do virtually, but there are certain things that have to be conducted in person. So what this allocation would do is fund an audiovisual system that would be in place in both of the training classrooms and then as well as the gym, because we've had to move those trainees to the gym to space them out. Obviously, the gym wasn't set up with instruction in mind, so it's a large space. The acoustics aren't great, and there's fans that are operating to maintain comfort in the building. This would allow us to overcome some of those obstacles. It would allow us to sync these training rooms up, so if we need more space, we can put some people in one room, some people in the other, and they're all synced. And it also allows the instructor to even work remotely, either from another room or via WebEx from another location to conduct instruction. So that's what the funding for that would be. The other instruction that we conduct in the gym area through our regular training, besides just basic, is first aid instruction, DUI instruction, verbal defense and influence, which is a de-escalation type training, reality-based training. These types of things where we have to space out and get room, we utilize the gym for that. So this would assist us in those operations. The other aspect that we have requested funding for is the acquisition of police vehicles, marked units for patrol. And the basis for that is these funds would allow us to acquire between 50 and 53 marked units. And basically what it does is it would allow us to reduce the amount of officers that we have sharing vehicles. We are short vehicles on some days. First of all, we have far more officers sharing cars than they have individually assigned. So that creates a couple of problems. One, if you have a car that's already out and then the officer on the next detail is going to utilize that vehicle, they have to wait for that officer to get back. So then they also have decontamination issues. The officer on the day shift may transport someone to jail. They may take someone to a mental health facility. They may help someone who's stranded on the side of the road get to a gas station. And all these folks are in and out of the vehicle. And we've given them some tools to decontaminate their cars, but at the end of the day, you've got multiple people riding in this vehicle, and then that happens on day shift, evening shift, midnight shift. That's obviously a lot of bodies in and out of the car. And of course, these officers are responding to calls, going to businesses, going to homes. And so anything we can do to reduce that contamination is obviously advantageous. The other thing is, just in general maintenance issues, we find that officers tend to maintain individually assigned vehicles or ones they're not sharing with multiple people a little bit better, and to include probably the decontamination process. And if we do have somebody who rides in our vehicle that we believe is COVID positive, then the process that we have in place is we have to tow that vehicle to the contract vendor to have it decontaminated, and that takes that car out of service for anywhere from 3 to 4 days. So, and again, when they're sharing cars, you're hauling your equipment from your personal vehicle into your work vehicle and back and forth. which again creates cross-contamination issues. So it would improve the life span of the vehicles. It would reduce contact between the public and the vehicle and the officers, and also go a long way probably with improving officer morale as well. So that's what the two allocations are for, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have about those.
The first is, if you could kind of explain about how COVID, I mean, you've explained in the context of the vehicles how COVID relates to that. I was a little bit less clear about the COVID connection to the training and video conferencing. And then second of all, just have there been any examples where the current COVID protocols in place from a vehicle standpoint have not been sufficient, and we have had police officers, by virtue of their driving arrangements, contract COVID-19?
Sure, I'm happy to address those. So on the first issue with respect to the audiovisual training, normally these officers, we don't utilize our gym for classroom-based training. We would put people in the classrooms, and we can normally put 40 to 50 folks in a classroom, and we have multiple classrooms for that. Since we have to space people out because of COVID to ensure safe social distancing, the max that we can get in any one room is about 20 to 25 people. So what we have done is we have moved their classroom into the gym and spaced them out. And that gym wasn't set up with audio-visual equipment to begin with. It was just a gym for, fitness facility. And this would allow us to implement the audio-visual learning equipment and then sync that to the classrooms so that we can safely distance folks out and spread them out rather than, being too close and still conduct our operations. Because like I said, our current class started the day one with 90 folks. And that's a big space to try and get everybody spaced out when you have a group that large. And your second inquiry about the vehicle, anybody relating back to that? I don't know that I have a specific trace back, a case where we've traced one back to contamination via a vehicle. That may have happened. I just don't simply have that information. I do know that we've had about 60 employees that have tested positive since the pandemic began. So, officers are in and out of cars and in and out of businesses and homes, and so I just don't have that data in front of me if any of them have actually been traced back to someone in a vehicle. But we have taken people that were COVID positive to jail, and obviously they rode in the back of our car there.
On the first portion of the request, for the classrooms, if you will, what's the planned expenditure for that? I may have missed it.
So the cost is a little under $300,000, and it's video equipment. So there's multiple monitors in the gym, 2 in the middle and like 1 on each end. Sound and audio equipment so that you have equal sound throughout. It also has a camera system so it can follow the instructor. So if I'm, for instance, teaching in the gym and we have other students that need to observe this and they need to be spaced out into a classroom, those folks in there will also have monitors in there and a camera in there. So if they have a question in that other classroom where I'm not teaching, they can get my attention and we can interact and interface.
Yeah, and I just want to apologize to the committee. I realize you only have the memo on the cars, not on the technology, but both pieces are on the sheet. It's the 2.9, and then second from the bottom is the 300,000.
Both thousand. And then lastly, when you have a shared vehicle, whether it's an officer that contracts it or if you're transporting someone with it, does the officer not in the vehicle but that use it later, would they have to be confined, or you just take the vehicle out of service immediately and then you're shut down for 2, 3, 4 days?
If we have a suspicion that we have had a COVID positive person or contamination to the vehicle, we take it out of service and we have it decontaminated via the vendor. And that's the process I was saying is running about 3 to 4 days, because they tow it away and then it's off site, done, and then brought back.
I did a poor job of asking the question, which is not unexpected. If the person that you're transporting is found out to have COVID after the vehicle's shared, does the second officer have to be self-quarantined or taken out of service himself?
Anybody we felt that would, I mean, obviously it depends on the situation and the exposure, but typically if we have an officer that we think has been exposed, we ask them to self-quarantine, get tested, and just as a matter of precaution, because obviously we don't want them to get it, we don't want them to spread it to others, so.
I have, Coach, again, two-part question, but the first being the audio-visual equipment. I don't think it's an extremely large number, but my question is, have efforts been made to utilize other, probably better suited metro properties to provide that service? The first one that comes to my mind immediately is the downtown library. They're basically doing exactly what you talk about doing. They've done it multiple times. I don't know if there is some agreement that can happen with some of our churches or other institutions that may be willing to work with the city to provide maybe even a location that does what you're trying to do even better than retrofitting something that doesn't need to happen. I just don't know if that's been done. And maybe logistically, it truly is just better to happen at the gym, just me not having the full context, but I did want to throw that out there. And then in terms of the vehicles, you know, I definitely understand the safety concern, not just of officers, but also for anyone that they come in contact with. So I want to make that known. But I have a question about the process for decontaminating. I mean, 4 days seems like an extremely long time for that to happen. I don't want to challenge anything that's been agreed to for a reason beyond my comprehension, but I feel like that amount of time in terms of our emergency service vehicles seems really long, and I don't know if it may be money better spent, just really figuring out there's a better strategy around that. Not to say that we may not need to do more vehicles, but maybe there's a complementary way of doing vehicles and creating a more time-effective and hopefully still as safety-effective manner of decontaminating vehicles.
Sure, so those are great questions. The first question about space. I don't know to what extent the training academy has sought out other facilities. I can tell you that we did, for a period of time, move our trainees to our Madison precinct, which has a large community room, and we utilized that. The problem with using an off-site location is they're not always doing classroom instruction all day long, and a lot of times they're doing other types of instruction that does require, you know, the use of the gym to do physical tactics type training, physical training. We have a gun range on site at the police training academy. We have a driving track. So there are other facilities there at the academy that makes it advantageous for all our personnel to be there on site. I do know, with some, having been through the process recently for finding a site to conduct promotional processes, we try to utilize facilities in the community, and we have a long-standing relationship with a church in the South Nashville area. But what we found was a lot of places are shut down, and they are reluctant to open up their facility. So I don't know if that might be a problem for training as well, but I think the bigger obstacle is probably the issue of, you know, switching gears from a classroom setting to this other instruction. And, you know, obviously I don't know how long this is going to go on. This is a system that we could use, you know, in perpetuity, so over the lifespan of that. To your second question about the vehicles, I don't know exactly. So the way we purchase vehicles, it's through the general services, and I'm not 100% positive, but this process has probably been set up through general services as well for decontamination. Obviously, we would like to see a quicker turnaround as well, but I don't know to what extent that is necessarily available, because I haven't personally been involved with the vendor or how that was set up. But that's again for known contaminations. Typically, you know, officers, as a precautionary matter, are cleaning their vehicles to prevent any type of cross-contamination. But if we know somebody or that we suspect actually has been in the vehicle that is positive, that's when we would utilize that. So we're trying to obviously reduce the number of cars we take out of service to those cases where we really feel there's a strong threat.
So there's two options here. There was Acquire 73, Acquire 53, and it says at the bottom that so did you just update that, revise your ask to 53 versus 73, or I'm just wondering why there's two options?
I will say Chief Hager confirmed back with me that based on updated pricing from General Services, that the 2.9 million would only cover 50 to 53 vehicles.
Okay.
Not 70.
Perfect. And then,
If that's the right answer, Captain.
Yeah, that is correct, yes.
Chief Hager had sent that to me.
okay. Could you speak to, I understand the contamination and the safety for officers as well as passengers in these vehicles. Could you speak to the overall impact on public safety in that I would assume more cars per shift would be on the streets? We would have an increased or a decreased call response time. Can you just kind of quantify that so that we can understand that this is probably an overall public safety bonus for the entire county?
Yes, ma'am. That's a very valid point because when we are short cars and we utilize shared vehicles, and like I said at the beginning of my presentation, what happens is your B detail has come on. We overlap by 30 minutes to ensure total coverage. And so, for instance, your A detail or your morning shift finishes up. Well, that B detail officer who doesn't have his own assigned car is having to wait for that A detail car to come back to the precinct. And obviously, you know, they may be out on a call for service still, wrapping up a domestic dispute or something like that at booking, and they have to wait for that car to come back. They have to wait for that officer to unload their personal equipment that they carry from that vehicle, and now, you know, take decontamination type procedures, and then turn that car over to the B shift officer who's going to utilize it. And this happens, some of these cars run 24 hours a day, which obviously significantly shortens the lifespan of the vehicle. And yes, if the more vehicles, and sometimes we have to just double up cars where we have two officers who otherwise would be riding in separate vehicles and be available to respond to multiple incidents, are now having to ride together because of a lack of vehicles. But yes, obviously there's an increased police presence the more vehicles you have on the roadway, and it increases our ability to respond by not tying up two officers to handle one call that a single officer otherwise might be able to handle by themselves if they were riding alone.
Yes, thank you, Captain Gilder, for being here to answer our questions. I have a question about the vehicles, and I agree that it's critical and prudent that we need more vehicles to enhance public safety. But my question may be for you, Mary Jo, as far as the restrictions on what we can spend the COVID-19 funding on. I think initially there was concern about we couldn't spend it on assets and vehicles being an asset. Have those restrictions been relaxed? Will we be able to direct funding towards vehicles?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. The restrictions on assets rely within FEMA. So remember that we kind of have two sets of rules, so to speak. We have the U.S. Treasury guidelines that are on the CRF, which is specifically to the 121 million, and then there is FEMA. And we intend to take as many of the expenditures that we can that qualify for FEMA and submit them. Vehicles would not be FEMA eligible. FEMA is the one that does not allow the assets at the end. They have kind of that theory of, we're here to fill your, excess gaps, but but you cannot be better at the end of it, so you can't have an asset. The Treasury guidelines still allow for an asset, as long as that was necessary during the response time. If you have an asset left at the end, that is acceptable. No clawback.
Couple questions. The first one is, would you have to go through a procurement process to get the cars? And if so, how long would it take from approval of the funds to actually having the cars in the fleet? And then secondly, have y'all done any kind of internal study or, kind of formal evaluation of, kind of how many officers are having to double up in cars as opposed to what the need would be, or how, I guess, how many are having to double up in cars right now, or is that just kind of anecdotal based off of observation?
Sure, great questions. So to your first point about procurement, to my knowledge, we would have to go through the standard procurement process. It is through General Services that does that, but we do order on an ongoing basis, vehicles, because some are ending their lifespan, and so we're always through a rotational process trying to purchase to replace what we can. So I don't know the exact timeline for what that would take, but it's we're not just only ordering at one point necessarily during the year. I mean, we do have an ongoing process that we utilize. To your point about doubling up, I don't have an exact number because it depends on any given day. Whether officers are going to be doubled up because of things like how many cars have been crashed on that detail, how many have been exposed that had to be, taken out of service for that, how many came to end of life before their replacement vehicle came to the precinct. So that's difficult to say. What I can tell you is our police fleet operations has advised that we are currently 130 marked vehicles short. And so this wouldn't bring us up to that. Obviously, we're talking about maybe 53 at most, but it would go a long way.
The current shortage, that's not COVID related, or is that taking into account the need for the contamination process, the issues created by COVID too, or is that separate and apart from COVID?
So the 130 number is not necessarily COVID related, but obviously the COVID has exacerbated an existing issue that we have with being short on cars, that being doubling up, more exposure, sharing vehicles, hot swapping cars. So no, it's not unique to that, but I think the pandemic has exacerbated that issue.
Any other, go ahead.
Just being conscientious of this, I think, looking at this figure, it'd be the second largest allocation from this committee, and just publicly telling that to the city that, $3 million went to purchase vehicles. I just think we need to be aware of how that may be perceived. But I also think in terms of purchasing new vehicles, the lifespan of vehicles, I think you highlighted that. Is there information that would support, provided from police department of the likely timeline in which these would have been purchased, right? And so somewhat of a pull forward of a very valuable asset that would have been acquired at some point anyway. I think, again, it goes to the justification of the impact it will have on our police department's effectiveness and safety, but also from a taxpayer standpoint, impact that you're paying for this now using these funds, but of course it is something that would have been 4 years, 5 years, whatever it may be down the line anyway, and you're just making it a purchase now that is extremely helpful in the current situation. Is there any type of information like that can be grabbed if vehicle purchases are somewhat planned over the next 3 or 4 years? If it was to be 12 a year or 15 a year, we're just kind of condensing that all here and taking advantage of the need and the opportunity. Is that something that we could be provided with?
Sure, I can check to try and acquire that data for you. Obviously, we have a planned purchase process, but we don't have the funding to purchase the full cadre of vehicles that we are short of. And so, yeah, like you said, it may shorten that period, but the advantage to that is, like I said, the exposure issue that this has created. So I'm happy to try and acquire that information for you, and I'll get it to Mary Jo so she can get it to everyone.
All right. Representative Love?
Earlier in your presentation, you mentioned training. Just want to make sure I heard you clearly about that. Did you mention de-escalating training?
Oh, yes, sir.
So is that included in the request amount, training for de-escalation?
So what I was saying is that we utilize the gym for a multitude of types of training, and it includes de-escalation training where we have to space out and do some reality-based type of training. So this equipment would come in. It would help there because any presentation, any training we're giving in the gym, it is hard to hear. So not just the classroom portion, but more hands-on portions like that. The presenter would be able to utilize this, primarily the audio equipment, to help facilitate that type of training. So it's not specific just to de-escalation training, but it's all the training that our trainees received over the course of the 6 months that they're there.
I raised the question because recently Governor Lee has, I think, set aside $300,000 for training, including de-escalation of force, and I didn't know if this particular request that you all have would qualify under that, or how much money Metro is getting from that $300,000 of CARES Act funds from the state. I'd be interested to know how much is already headed that way when we're talking about an amount that you're requesting. how much of that amount you're requesting is included in this training piece for the equipment?
So the equipment, like I said, is not specific to one type of training. I don't know how much, if any, that we have applied for via the state. You said it's 300,000. If that's statewide, this audio visual equipment alone for us would be just under $300,000.
And this is just for the equipment. It's unrelated to the training or to the governor's funding.
Sure, but he linked the equipment to training.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to figure out if he's linking the equipment to all types of training, which includes de-escalation of force, and if Governor Lee has now pushed for $300,000 of CARES Act funds to go to training of police officers across the state, what is the correlation connection between what we're asking for?
I'm tracking.
You see?
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
Because if we can save, but you said the equipment we're asking for would eat up the whole amount, so that answers my question right there. Okay, thank you.
I think that the police department is asking us for equipment to facilitate training, and then the 300,000 from the governor is more program related. Is that?
There's not clarity
Okay.
on what the 300,000 is supposed to cover, even though it may say training.
Okay.
I would dare say you may see some clarity coming later on about what all that includes. Now, to your point, yes, programmatically, it should just cover $300,000, but I think if there's an opportunity to, so let's say a county, let's say Washington County says we can't do the training because we don't have the equipment, then there may be some money added to it. Or if the post commission is doing the training and they say we need more equipment, we have to see. And so I was just trying to figure out if there was a way to get some of what they're asking from some other source. What was my point of asking about the training money? But again, if the equipment itself is $300,000, then my question has been answered.
All right, we are getting close to the end, close to 1:30, and we still have two departments. So I don't want to rush anyone, but do we have any more questions? Thank you, Captain Gilder, for being here. All right, and I think next we have Fire and OEM. Chief Swan, thank you for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry I was running behind. We have other matters as well. So thank you for this time. I think if you look at the fire department, we're similar to PD, and a lot of great questions when it comes to these vehicles. And if you look, our priority, of course, is, and what we've done when we looked at the vehicles, it's not that we're putting more on fleet. These are actually vehicles that are allocated to us anyway, but they're either expired as far as the age or they're about to go out within a few miles from it. And there's some very great questions about getting the data to tell you how quickly these will be replaced anyway if we go ahead and purchase this through the grant. And I think, just like the police department, thinking about the reason why we want to have these vehicles for the COVID response, for the purpose of this grant, a particular, or I'll give you an example, just from September the 14th through the 10th, and we run these reports weekly, we've had 2,327 incidents, and then we had another 1,700 fire EMS response, and then special ops operations 62. So we run calls continuously, and of course in our field, in our nature, we get called when people are sick, hurt, not just fires, but we're talking about our medical calls. That's everything, of course, from shootings, stabbings, homicides, suicides, drownings, overdose incidents that we don't know about. And of course, right now, the COVID. We had we know 1,500 transports that just was COVID related. So just like the police department, we want to be able to cut down. We use our fast car process, or the philosophy here. When our fire engines and our trucks are making responses, you're talking about having, 2 to 4 individuals in that compartment versus just having 2. We will always run with 2 just because of the nature of what we're doing. But still, that still tracks the fact that we are able to cut down on social distancing, of course, and then be able to do deconning. And we are similar to police department, but different in different ways, because our department is more geared for, our PPE. That's sort of part of our DNA. So we make sure that we do a self-deconning, of course, after every call. The process is a little different, as it was spoken about earlier, if you know you have a known case. But more importantly, one of the issues that we're having is that our response are getting cut down, because I have, even my command staff, from districts down or districts up, we've had the people that have SUVs or sedans having to pass those vehicles down simply because either the demand is so great in operations that it's better for them to have them to, again, cut down on transporting or responding, I should say, not transporting, to the scene. This would just make a big dent helping us be able to get ahead of the game. It would help fleet out. It would help the city out, save money, because our vehicles that we have now, either they're at the point of expiring, meaning anything that we turn them in for, they can actually be taken from us because they already reached their max limit. As you can imagine, we put hundreds of miles on these vehicles. I mean, within a year's time, you could put anywhere between close to 100. We can put 50 to 100,000 on a vehicle in no time flat. So my philosophy, similar to police here, was when we asked for these, this is not going to put no more strain, no more pressure on fleet. We're not asking for overage. We're just wanting to replace what's already allotted to us and ones that are about to go out. And this number would actually be able to provide all of our staffing along with ones that respond in emergency type situations. This put us in a better position. Now, of course, this is not going to fix the whole entire problem, but I just didn't want to overtax the system. This will put us in a better light where we'll actually have vehicles that, number one, they're newer, they'll be able to, it's going to cut down on the maintenance and all that good stuff, even though when you talk about the question about trying to sell this to the public, you're absolutely right. By doing this now, it's going to actually save you later, because all these vehicles will have to be replaced. Now, the time frame will be a lot slower and methodical than we won't, because we understand this because of the situation we are in Metro right now. So this will be a great investment and easily proven to, number one, help cut down the COVID possibility of actually having contaminating, cross-contaminating, because in my field, our guys go back to the station. They live there just like it's their home. So we have to take extra precautions to make sure that everything we do in the state of everybody we come in contact have COVID, and that's how we have to do it. So it's a process, and I'm open to any questions. I hope, other than the SUVs and the sedans, there are some. I asked for some ATVs and their special units, and what they would do is, if you look over to your far right, I give a little bit what they actually do. Some of them are off-road terrain and the topography of the landscape that we make calls on in some areas and neighborhoods. Again, it just gives, instead of us running that heavy equipment to a call, we can use those heavy terrain vehicles. And also with our greenways, we use them also downtown in heavy congested areas. The same way we use the SUVs, it just cuts down wear and tear of the vehicles, heavy equipment, and also it allows you accessibility quicker and easier, along with being COVID-minded with exposure.
Chief Swan, is there, one thing I wasn't able to confirm, are there any additional requests from OEM that you want to address before they ask questions?
And again, I apologize for my being here late. I was not able to grab that. I think the biggest thing for OEM.
I printed what you had originally sent.
Right.
I just didn't know if that was still something you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I think it was the
just
van. It was a passion. The van. That was one of the biggest things. I know we've been asked to really look at what our list is, and this ask that we're asking for, again, this is essential for us to be able to do our job efficient and fluently, and also the thing I do love about it is because it will actually save money in the long run overall anyway, but for the safety of the men and women that work in the departments, this is essential, and then allowing us to a prime example this weekend, a lot of people don't think about this, but all the water rescues that we done this weekend, well, the delay and slowdown is because our vehicles were being allocated or they reached their max use, so where special ops or others would have vehicles normally to respond, we weren't able to do it efficiently. And even though we did a great job, again, this is just a way of making us be more safety conscious and more fluent at what we're doing, along with the COVID component in it. So as far as OEM, I think the van that was asked for is very important for transporting. You guys know that the Office of Emergency Management, we're over, and which is under my department, under my care. We deal with the assessment centers. We deal with the homeless that's at the fairgrounds that's under fire and OEM. So it's a lot of transporting. There's a lot of things that we do there that's sort of out of the norm. But again, that's under my care, and we have to do it. And we use our vehicles to actually facilitate that, which is, again, a little out of the character of the fire department and an Office of Emergency Management, but yet, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do in these times, and that's what we're making adjustments. So these are definitely not fluff and buff. These are things that we need in order to be a proficient.
Great, thank you. All right, I think we're ready for questions.
Okay. So the fire department, I see everything is pretty well laid out as far as vehicles and response, ATVs and all that good stuff. With OEM, I see the same type of things here with the $470,000, but OEM is asking for a total of 1.7, I believe. And a lot of this stuff, I'm just wondering, as far as asking to pare down wireless printers, projector bulbs, podiums, flags and stands, office supplies, printing materials for 55-gallon trash cans. I'm just wondering, of this 1.7 for OEM, like what, I mean, we don't have that much money left, and now we're hearing that it's probably going to have to be extended through 2021. So I know you've pared down a ton because we started off a lot higher than this. I'm just wondering, out of the equipment and supplies, what is absolutely necessary? If you could just speak to that, please.
Yes, and thank you for asking me that question. I will, and if respectfully to the board, if I'm able to, I can reevaluate that, but I want to bring to the attention that Office of Emergency Management, and I'm sure if you don't know that, you'd be more than welcome to come out there. What we do is that's the war room. That's where everybody comes when there's an incident in this city that takes overtax one department, and we have to go there in order to make our decisions based off of streamlining it, and so everyone is there. So the supplies that we were asked simply is because, and I'm sorry for forgetting, you named several things, but for instance, the bulbs, I mean, that's because on the screens, we keep those up because we're able to view cameras, we're able to review data from the tornado to the COVID response now, all the functions other than this morning was done there. It's done at the Office of Emergency Management. So a lot of things are gone through there from printers, and because when people come there, they expect to be able to handle their business satellite-wise, and that's what we're there for. But to your point, I'll be more than happy to evaluate that when we put this together. And this process has definitely been a marathon, and we have totally looked at it more than 3 or 4 times. And I appreciate that, because I know you guys have got an important mission here, and we have to use money where money's where it needs to. So I can look at that again, and maybe if it's okay by the board and Mary Jo, or whoever's chairing, I can submit this back and get it back to the board. I know next Thursday, I think you're meeting again, and I can get a reversion of that. Fire, there is no more cutting that. That's cut it as far as I can. But I will take another look at Office of Emergency Management. We are fortunate that we have been, and I want everybody to know too, we're working very hard to try to get what grants are out there. I mean, the fire department, even before any money was given from TEMA or anybody, we actually sort of looked down the road and seen this coming as far as our PPE, and that's our, your basic gloves, masks, and things of that nature, because that's what we do. So we were actually able to even support our neighbors from the police department and schools and others, what we did have. But we recently acquired a grant of $900K for, and it was a firefighter grant that came out for our PPE. So again, we're very fortunate there. We're working very hard to make sure we know this money has to be used in a special way, and by no means do we want to put y'all in an awkward position. But those needs are needs, but I will reevaluate that.
Request for fire, we'll just focus on the vehicle request for fire today and questions, and we'll just leave OEM questions again, just for sake of time.
Yes.
Sarah?
Question. We have a significant allocation. We've discussed the city's emergency response expenditures, which are not really itemized, but I just wanted to make sure some of the items for OEM are really, sanitary supplies and things that you would think would fall under emergency response. I just want to make sure that there's not an overlap there.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's a good question, and there could be, but specifically there was some of the equipment that they're not purchasing. So the things on this list would not be purchased until approved. So they really are somewhat separate.
And again, I will promise you guys, I will reevaluate that as hard as possible, ASAP.
One quick question, Chief Swan, thank you for being here, and thank you for this detailed funding request list. Under the fire, medical and fire supplies and equipment, $2 million. Can you give a description of what that entails, medical and fire supplies and equipment?
The medical supplies and equipment.
Chief Swan, I don't know if you have.
Let me see, are you
An
talking?
example. It's under the PPE, number 1.
Oh, okay, so let me just clarify what I did. That when I reevaluated that, if you look at, I don't know what sheet you have, but it should just be to highlight it. That number 1 that you see, medical and fire supplies and equipment, that's not, that's been taken off. It's just the SUVs, and the sedan and the special terrain vehicles. So that's not our want anymore.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just the yellow, 2.8.
Yeah, just to highlight it yellow. I'm sorry, maybe I should have said that.
Can I ask one clarifying question? I know we're leaving OEM until
Yes.
later, but MDHA received $10 million, and I see on here that shower trailers to address the homeless population, and so I don't know if there has been coordination or not, whether they would be using some of those funds.
Well, and I want to make sure I clarify this too. The circumstance that we're dealing with is like an emergency situation when we talk about the homeless. It's not like a coalition. It's not like something that we're trying to have consistently. I think with it's just like in the winter we have the emergency shelters. when we put this together, again, no one could foresee that we'd still be dealing with the homeless under these circumstances, which those guys have done some incredible, great jobs out there. If you haven't been out there to visit that place, you need to go, because we got criticized very hard by how we did it. Everybody wanted us to get hotels and all that stuff. I'm not trying to get into that, but I'm just going to make a point. What we used with the city's already resources, the ask that we're looking for is these are just dealing with the fire OEM. I manage it. It's sort of under my care. So these needs are for what we deal with on a daily basis with them. The MDHA and the funding that they have in what they are doing, I'm not sure. I'm going to research it, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't come in play. Not saying that they wouldn't, but I don't think that come in play. We have so many other outlets. I mean, that's just one facet. At the fairground, we have 100 and, some homeless. We have them at Municipal Auditorium. And of course, they're at the center. We're just dealing with those that are at the fairgrounds and at the Municipal Auditorium. They're our responsibility, and especially those who are COVID positive or are waiting for the results. So we deal with that small amount. That's a small group, but it's a big resource on the city because it's an everyday process that we're dealing with. But I will look into what MDHA does.
And I just want to make sure that we stick to fire right now. We still have a health department to go, and we're past time, and I don't want to lose committee members. I know you all have to go. So are there any more questions on the vehicles for fire department? Yes.
Question on the vehicles. Looking at the guidance, I mean, our charge is to use the fund to address unforeseen financial needs and risks created by the COVID-19 emergency. And I'm just wondering, with respect to the 8 ATVs, I mean, could you elaborate more on the connection between that need and the COVID-19 emergency?
Yes, sir. Good question. Well, they sort of fall in line. If you think about and I guess to draw a picture for you, if we use, we have what they call off-terrain vehicles at certain fire stations, and those vehicles, because use Jolton for a good example, there are known areas that the fire engines and the ambulances, cannot cross over the bridges or whatever because of, again, the weight factor. And I'm not going to say that the med units, that's not a good, there are some, but very minimal, and then like downtown, there are areas where it's very congested, especially where there's events that's going on. Or when you look at making responses to underground parking areas, these SUVs or these special terrain vehicles, the greenways, you would be surprised how many calls that we make from the fire EMS perspective where people injure themselves or hurt themselves and they on the greenway. Well, they may be 1.5 miles, 2 miles off of, these guys got to track and pack to get to the individuals. So there are a few special trained vehicles that we have that we're able to use. But again, we're at our time of use, and we know now that that's something that we need more of because there's more greenways or there's more areas so it's just more about accessibility to areas where the topography is not warranted or welcome for regular vehicles. And these SUVs, if you look, they're very specially used. Like we've got vehicles that we can get into underground parking that actually have fire capability for small car vehicles, or also medical. So if someone's sick or hurt in their vehicle, we can get them out and transport them and get them into an area where we can get them loaded into a med unit. So there are special vehicles for us to be able to just be more efficient of doing our job. It all goes back to COVID because, again, it just cuts down on how many people have to be exposed to the patient, and also easier to clean or decon.
Thank you, Chief Swan. I appreciate you being here today. And we'll follow up with OEM next week. We have Jim Diamond and Stephanie Bailey here from our Metro Health Department. I'm just going to remind, you all have gotten them before. It was a little bit last minute as to what was coming back before the committee, but thankful for the Health Department letting me know. You can see that they have adjusted their request on our list to a recurring theme for today, which is vehicles. So you have, it's 160,000, it rounds to 0.2 on the infrastructure request, so vehicles for the health department. And then also, you've received this before, the behavioral health needs assessment and service delivery of $5 million has been asked, and they will explain this from the health department, as well as electronic health records. So I believe those are the three things that you all will share with us today. Thanks for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having us, and we appreciate the opportunity to be heard at this public health crisis that none of us have seen before. So we, again, reiterated the reduction of the building expansions. The electronic health record is, it's an important tool in managing not only everyday activities at the department, a crisis like this with mass vaccination events that we're anticipating, this will enable us to track and provide much better and faster data once we're able to implement a system like that, as opposed to right now we're existing on paper, and it's 2020, and we haven't had the ability to do that. So this public health crisis is something that really calls into focus the need for an EHR. It seems like vehicles are the flavor du jour here, but we've been operating specific testing events outside of the Metro testing facilities, where we're having to transport people as well as testing equipment and PPE, and the department does not have many vehicles assigned to it at all, and many of them are special purpose. Our animal control vehicles can't be repurposed for that. We have a couple of Nissan Leafs assigned to us, which aren't practical for transporting people and or equipment or PPE. We also have grant-funded vehicles that we are not allowed to use for anything other than what the grants that purchase those vehicles are for. So we also have temporary labor, and one of our temporary labor providers does not allow their employees to drive their own vehicles. So we need larger vehicles that can transport people and equipment, and looking ahead to mass vaccination events, we will need that to transport those as well. So I believe the committee received the letter about the behavioral health needs. That came as a product of the mayor attending, I believe, the June Behavioral Health and Wellness Advisory Committee meeting, and asked for that proposal. So I believe that was sent to everyone in the committee, but I'll leave it at that. I don't have much more to expand on, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a reminder, that was back in the very early days. You have electronic and a hard copy somewhere in your stack.
The online records, we're just changing how we are disseminating that information, correct? Since we changed, taking MMPD out of it, and we have been on hold for that, and so it's just creating another process to make sure we protect those who have tested positive and their privacy, correct?
Correct. This is a health record for anyone involved. It wouldn't be just COVID specific. This would be tracking, for example, all vaccines or all vials have barcoded lot numbers, so we can scan the barcode if we were to give you an immunization, and that would go immediately into your health record. So if there was ever a recall on a vaccine, we could track it that way, as opposed to having to go through paper charts and all those lines. But no, this wouldn't have anything to do with sharing data outside of the department. It would just be tracking, as well as providing cumulative data, or number of immunizations, or zip codes of people who have been vaccinated.
For your vehicles, have you said how many vehicles that relates to when you're talking about the 160,000?
Yes, we had initially asked for 10 at $40,000, so we revised that down to 6 at 40, so for $240,000.
Okay, and after, I'm assuming that at some point we're going to get past this pandemic as a country. When that happens, what would happen to those 6 vehicles? Because obviously, you would go back to what I'm hoping is a normal operation. And what I don't want to do is just have these vehicles sitting around. Is it possible, in lieu of purchasing 6 vehicles that you, in the long term, probably won't necessarily need, to coordinate with other metro departments for this temporary need to do these things?
Sure, and there aren't a lot of vehicles out there to be borrowed. I think, as Director Chief mentioned, vehicles go out of service and they're taken away from us, and not with a replacement right behind. We do have approximately 100 of our employees on a day-to-day basis have to drive their own vehicles, and that's our food and public facilities inspectors, sometimes our pest management inspectors. So we would rather have people driving a metro vehicle, marked and visibly opened to them to see if they're in neighborhoods, because they may not be as easily identifiable if they're just driving around in a personal vehicle, and sometimes in neighborhoods looking at mosquito pools and things like that. So we've asked for years for more and newer vehicles, and General Services has the unenviable task of trying to divide a certain amount of money for vehicles across however many metro departments there are. And, we understand that, but, this is a critical need, during the biggest
Short-term and
public-
long-term.
Right, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, short-term, this is the biggest public health crisis of our lifetimes, and just trying to manage, like testing and looking ahead to vaccination events. We feel this is important, and we would not leave vehicles unused or just sitting in a lot. I can assure you that.
Okay, thank you.
The electronic system, obviously, it's modernization of what we have now. It will allow to continue to track all testing, whatever it may be, but it does forward think to the vaccination tracking as well.
Absolutely, and Dr. Bailey may want to speak on this, but a record will be created for everyone who does get vaccinated, so we can look to see how many people in North Nashville received a vaccine, or how many people in Southeast where our efforts are targeting. So we can get that specific, as opposed to now where somebody have to go through every paper chart and enter a zip code or a council district or something. But this, I think our epidemiologists would love to have this data at their fingers right now.
It becomes real time.
It's exactly correct. It becomes real time, and like I said, we've tried to focus our testing efforts where we think, and we've known we've had positives, but we may look to see, let's once a vaccine comes out, let's target our vaccination clinics or areas specific to, like I said, a zip code or a council district, something like that.
Thank you, and I would always let the person speak with the Preds mask first, but.
Dr. Bailey will speak when
I
she's.
shall. 21st century, and we're trying to. The health department has data from all over the place, from our enforcement, from food, from pest control, from vector control, and all of that, and it all comes together in a data set that allows us to correlate some data that we never even thought may come together for us. And when we're trying to reach even questions from reporters or anyone, our epidemiologist has a set of data, our food people have a set of data, our behavioral health has a set of data, our school nurses have a set of data. So this allows us to at least come to the 20th century, if not the 21st. And I know dates, but we are that far behind. Thank you.
One question. The various needs that you've outlined, obviously this is an unprecedented situation, but Are there any possibilities for other sources of funding, either private or public, that are being explored that could cover any or all of these expenses?
Absolutely. We look for grant opportunities anywhere we can, and this is not specific to COVID. The health department is approximately 60% grant funded. So the majority of our money does not come from Metro allocations. It does come from grants, and we have program people who look every day for grant opportunities. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, we do try to explore every funding opportunity. We did receive some money from the state for PPE replacement and things like that, but we haven't found anything specific to the needs that we've outlined here, because we would have explored those already, and we will continue to do so.
This is not unique to the electronic health records. It pertains to vehicles and some of the other things that you'll hear in the department requests. And I could bring it up for everybody, but it's a little bit more significant. Can you talk a little bit about the ongoing costs beyond December 30th, or in this case, December 31st of 2021? Because some of the investments we would be making using the CARES Act funding could create continuing expenses, just like vehicle maintenance is an ongoing expense beyond access to the relief funds in calendar 20, possibly 21 if they extend the date, but then beyond.
So are you talking about the EHR? Mm-hmm. Yes. There are licensing fees and equipment fees that go along with this, but we do realize that there will be some cost elimination through reduction of paper, as well as probably best way.
I am pretty certain that because this pandemic has interrupted everything, every industry, everywhere, that there's going to be dollars coming down, for public health infrastructure. I'm almost certain of that. I've been around a long time. When people understand public health and what the impact if we're not around, I'm pretty sure that there will be dollars that will come around, which we will use to prioritize for these things that we think are priorities for us. So.
Yeah, I didn't want to isolate that to just the health records. It's actually something that we've talked about even with vehicles, and again, some of the other investments that you'll hear next week also. So it's just something that we want to make sure that while we have funds accessible, we're not setting ourselves up for additional expenses in the following budget year that we can't maintain. Any other questions for our health department for any of the opportunities? Well, we sure appreciate everybody's extra time today, and thank you so much for our Arts Commission, our Police Department, Fire and OEM, and our Health Department. We appreciate your time and all that you are doing during this pandemic. You are certainly on the front lines, and we appreciate all that you are doing. If there are no other questions, wait, we did want to say we'd like to set up a Tuesday meeting.
I think we can just do regular Thursday.
Okay, so we may need to plan on a little more time next Thursday. You probably already all do that anyway, but we will review the draft resolution with the $32.1 million allocation to the city, as well as these adjustments for pathway lending, and then we'll hear from our other departments. Thank you, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.